Hello, everybody. I hope that everything is okay from technical side and our translation. And first of all, thanks a lot for joining us today. And today we'll talk about autonomous IT in general, IT ops. And we at Acure are planning to host this event several times a month, so keep an eye on our announcement to stay up to date about everything we do. And I would like to say a couple words about Acure in general. It's a cloud-based AIOps solution for the best observability, incident control, and event management. We are about to release our new version of the platform soon, so you all would have a chance to try it completely for free. And if you have any questions about platform, or if you would have questions for our speaker, feel free to ask in the comment section, and we would glad to help you and answer on our stream. And I would like to invite our dear speaker, Savinder Puri, to our stream. Just a second, let me invite him. Yeah. Hi, Savinder.
Hey, Kate, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. So nice to have you here. Thank you
Thank you.
for joining us. And I hope that today will be a great conversation about huge transformational shift and DevOps. And first of all, let's talk a bit about your background and experience for those from our audience who don't know you well yet. So feel free to tell us
Sure.
about it.
Thank you, Kate. So I started out in back in the year 2000, and one of my first jobs, my official designation was something called a build jockey, and the term DevOps had not even been coined yet there.
Yeah.
Over the past 20 odd years, I've worked in product companies, startups, services organizations. In the year about early 2000s, I used to work for Siemens PLM, where we used to build on 8 versions of Unix across 4 parallel braid servers, and the build would run for 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I also did some independent consulting assignments where, in one assignment, the problem statement given to me was from the time the source code is checked in to the time to production, this duration should be less than 20 minutes. So I've kind of been around the room for a while, and I've seen some stuff around.
Yeah. Actually, it is great because I think that it is important that you have like different experience, different sides of perspective on the theme and the topic. So yeah, it's nice to hear about your background. And let's talk about the main topic of our today's meeting. It will be about shift in DevOps and what do you think about what is going on in enterprise DevOps right now? Because we can see that everything in DevOps in some kind of transformation right now. And I would like to hear from your perspective what you see, what you're experiencing, and maybe also what you would recommend to companies and for people who working in the companies, on enterprise companies.
Sure. So there's a very famous quote which said, every company is a software company. Right? I would like to extend that to say today in 2022, every company is a DevOps company,
Yeah,
especially post-pandemic. That has become the norm now. DevOps is no longer a nice to have.
yeah.
It's no longer a buzzword that you hear at a conference and you come back and say, hey, let's do this. It's become a business need today. And there are a couple of dimensions to DevOps because of which it is becoming increasingly important. First is the business impact, the direct impact on the top line that an organization can have with metrics like faster time to market, faster mean time to resolution. Though that is direct bottom line impact. Sorry, that's direct top line impact. The direct
Mhm.
bottom line impact is things like developer productivity, defect density, cost of quality. That's the
Mhm.
bottom line impact. So that's the business angle to it. The organizational angle to it is that all organizations are now moving or maturing towards agile. They are moving towards guilds, pods, chapter, tribe, whatever you call it. Right? They're
Mhm.
either creating centralized structures or they are getting into decentralized center of excellence kind of teams. we're looking at creating platform teams. That needs a DevOps approach. Then the ways of working is changing. That's the third dimension to it. There's feature driven development. There's talks about continuous security, canary deployments. All that needs DevOps. And then finally, new technologies coming in, things like chaos engineering, A/B testing. We're talking of metaverse now. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of talk about carbon emissions. And in fact, I'm one of the mentors at DevOps Summit in Canada, where this is a new track that we are picking up. How do you reduce carbon emission in the software development lifecycle? And that's
Mm-hmm.
where, again, DevOps is playing a role. So it's become very important in any dimension that you look at in the entire SDLC lifecycle.
Mm-hmm. And what you can say about difference in this sense within larger companies and SMBs? So you say that every company needs DevOps today, and every company is DevOps company. But what's the difference between like shift and transformation in huge companies like enterprises, like some banks, telecom companies, etc., and some like local businesses, for example, who also would like to be up to date, to be modern, to be like really nice with technology, but they maybe
Yeah.
don't right now. So what do you think about this difference?
Sure, that's a great question. And I think fundamentally, the focus of DevOps is different from a smaller and medium enterprise towards a large enterprise. And
Mm-hmm.
because the focus is different, because the business requirement is different, the approach has to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And there are two, three angles to this. One is the operations angle. Typically, a small enterprise is focused on stabilizing and scaling up operations without impacting user experience. I was reading an article, and there was a cricket match between India and Pakistan over the weekend. That's the Asia Cup final. And one of the popular channels, Disney Hotstar, that was
Mm-hmm.
viewing it. That was telecasting it, and there were 13 million concurrent users.
Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine the amount of infrastructure you need to be able to support something like that. And
Yeah.
this is across mobile devices. People are watching it on, majority of them are watching it on cell phones, on the go, at 3G, 4G, 5G speeds, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So imagine the kind of infrastructure it will take to support something like that.
Yes.
That's at the small and the medium businesses. And then you come to the banks, the large retailers. There they have a different problem. There you have a width of technology. Everything from the Javas, the .NETs, multiple ERPs, Oracle, Salesforce, mainframe, heritage
Mm-hmm.
systems. You got to support all of that, right? So fundamental difference in their structure.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is about all about the technology. There's a big people difference also.
Mm-hmm.
People want to work in an organization which supports 13 million concurrent users, which is telecasting the next big sporting event. People probably don't want to work in a bank which has been around for 100 years, which is not
Yeah.
transforming. Right?
Yes.
So it's about attracting the right talent also.
Mm-hmm.
So different organizations, different dimensions to the challenge, both from a technology and a people perspective.
Okay. And actually, it's my next question about people aspect within this transformation.
I'm
Uh,
leading you to the right questions, then I think I'm doing a good job.
yeah. And yeah, it's. I think that any transformation is about people upskilling, reskilling, transitioning, changing in some ways.
Yes.
And we can understand more easier about developers parts. So like engineers who would like to become, we would take these questions like later, but it's not so easy to understand what to do traditional system administrator. So it was like the main topic for our meeting today, because we can understand how can scale, for example, some engineers their career
Yeah.
in DevOps, but we don't understand what's the like future of system administrators in this changing area. And can you please maybe give some practical examples and your thoughts on this also?
Sure. And I think that's a very, very important point, because these traditional system administrator, they have what we like to call in the industry as the wisdom of production. These guys know how to run production systems. They keep
Mm-hmm.
them up and running every single day. They
Yeah.
know the nuts and bolts of the system. So it's very important to keep these guys along in the transformation journey. So let's take a hypothetical example. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
there's an ABC enterprise, and as they're undergoing a transformation, like everybody is, and their goal is to move, let's say, about 60-70% of their workload into
Mm-hmm.
containers in the next 3-4 years. That's a typical
Mm-hmm.
transformation program. Right? You let go of old technology, you move into the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
As it happens, ABC probably will also end up using some portions of cloud. Probably they will even go serverless in some portions, move their data lakes into the cloud. Stuff like that will happen over the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, this is the technology side of it. Now, let's look at what happens to system admins. Their bread and butter of things like supporting IIS, WebLogic, WebSphere will disappear in next 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
because those technologies will not be relevant, because the way you deploy a cloud application, a cloud native application, an application over container is completely different than this.
Yeah.
Right? Agreed, maybe around 20-30% of the infrastructure will still be heritage, will still be maybe some in a bank, a core banking system, or in the retailer, your core system of managing your products, your inventory, that will remain. But that
Mm-hmm.
is still the laggard, that is still the 20-30%.
Yeah.
Right? They're also the way they are creating environments. Maybe today they take a week or 10 days to create environments. We are talking about immutable environments, creating environments in matter of hours, if not minutes. The way they do patching, the way they do release management,
Mm-hmm.
that's also changing. And if you look at the latest upskilling industry report from DevOps Institute, that covered, I think, about 120 odd countries. They
Mm-hmm.
also say that 40% of the people said that resource and skill shortage is one of the top three challenges.
Yeah.
And technical debt must be paired with talent debt.
Mm-hmm.
So the opportunity is out there for the system admins to evolve themselves into the new roles. The business requirement is there, the opportunity is there. Now it is upon the individuals whether they want to jump on that bandwagon and move into the new workload of 60-70%, or they want to
Mm-hmm.
stay at that laggard of 20-30%, which will continue for a couple of years further, but then life is tough.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
slightly long answer to a question, but
Mhm.
hopefully it gives some perspective.
Yeah, actually, that you said, it really sounds kind of scary because I think that these guys don't have too much time to do this transformation itself themselves. So how is it like really ongoing situation, or there is some time to reskill, upskill, and change your role, for example?
Yeah, I don't want to create a very bleak picture out there, but as you can understand, large transformation programs like this, they don't happen in 1 or 2 years. They
Yeah,
take time. So
yeah.
it depends on your organization and what phase of the transformation program it is in.
Mm-hmm.
But get one thing very clear, the wave is coming, and it will fundamentally change the way we have worked in the last 15-20 years.
Yeah.
The changes that we have seen in the last 10-15 years, they were nothing as compared to what we have seen in the last 5 years. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
what has not happened in 15 years will happen in the next 5 years. So there isn't a whole lot of time,
Mm-hmm.
but there isn't need panic as well.
Yeah.
As long as you recognize that the world out there is changing, and if you are a system admin, if you are in that area, if you're in the infrastructure or the app admin area,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you realize that the world out there is changing, and I as an individual need to build on the strengths, the experiences that I have,
Mm-hmm.
and just see how that works in the new world. As long as you're conscious of that, I think you have time to make the right moves, learn the right things, pick up the new roles.
Yeah.
You will be super relevant and super important in the new world as well. It's just how you transform yourself in the next, maybe an year or so, depending on where your organization is today.
Yeah, actually, it sounds really like a plan, because when you say 5 years, it's kind of big amount of time, but actually it is not, because when you need to like change the role, when you need to re-skill yourself with some new soft skills, hard skills, it would be like maybe really difficult for some people. And what do you think about new roles like site reliability engineers, for example? Is it
Mhm.
relevant for system admins to change their roles to these ones, maybe?
So, see, things like SRE were carved out primarily by the likes of Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, they operate in a very different space. They had a different set of challenges, and they came out with the concept of SRE, which works great in their context.
Mm-hmm.
If this context is correctly adopted in an enterprise,
Mm-hmm.
depending upon whether you're on the infrastructure side, whether you're on the application side, whether you're in the support side, assuming that
Mm-hmm.
the organization has done a good job of taking a concept which works at Google and tailoring it to your environment, to your enterprise, it could be a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
Just renaming a support team, saying from Monday morning it's called an SRE team, it doesn't really work that way, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good career choice, it's a good career pivot, assuming the organization has people who can think through that journey and tailor what SRE means for your enterprise. Because your
Mm-hmm.
enterprise is hopefully not Google and it doesn't have the same challenges. So
Yeah.
if that is done, then it is in my mind, it's a good logical extension for people in uh, the traditional app area,
Mm-hmm.
assuming that they are willing to pick up some new skills, change the way in which they have been working. If
Mm-hmm.
that's true, then it's a good fit.
Yeah. And what about other roles? Maybe you can suggest something else to consider to moving from sysadmin to something else. Maybe there is like new roles which not too famous right now, but can be trending in next few years, for example.
Yeah, so if you're working in a large enterprise and if you worked in things like an ITIL, for example, or any other shape and form of, if you've led a lean initiative,
Mm-hmm.
then the new versions of ITIL, like ITIL V4, that's talking about DevOps very heavily. So that
Mm-hmm.
could be an area to pick on. The newer versions of process engineering things, like
Mm-hmm.
ITL V4, like Lean is coming out with a new version. The latest version of Safe has a lot of significance of DevOps. So if you're from that area, then you can pick up the latest version of any of these
Mm-hmm.
and you can talk about that. Uh, if you are in the infrastructure side of things, then picking up infrastructure automation could be a good opportunity. Going to infrastructure as cloud, looking at things like Chef, Puppet, Ansible, Terraform. That is another good area, and you can very heavily relate that to the way you used to create environments in the past.
Mm-hmm.
All you need to figure out is my earlier environment, how does that map to container,
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference, and how do I map my uh, the traditional world of a virtual environment and my virtual systems, how does that relate to containers? If you can
Mm-hmm.
make that shift, that's another good area to get into. Then there
Mm-hmm.
is the DevOps engineer area. If you're excited about creating software builds, shipping
Mm-hmm.
out stuff faster to customers, that's potentially another area you can look at. So,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what your background is, what your skill has been so far, I
Mm-hmm.
would say, and one of my mentors told me this several years back, always stay true to your core skill.
Mm-hmm.
If your core skill is system admin, stay true to it. You just have to see how it maps in the new world. If
Yeah.
your true skill is, you know, an infrastructure engineer, stay
Mm-hmm.
true to that. because you've spent 10, 15, 20 years doing that. So don't just jump and start learning Kubernetes. It's great, but
Yeah.
probably is not relevant to you. So stay
Mm-hmm.
to your core skill, figure out what's the extension of your core skill in the new environment,
Mm-hmm.
and then find the gap, how to bridge that. That will be my 3-step algorithm for people who are looking for guidance.
Yeah, actually, these 3 steps is was like my last several question. Next question to you, because actually, yes, yeah, just answer that. And thanks a lot. I think that it is important to understand how to proceed in this changing uh, area, because maybe some people don't understand how to move from what we're doing, for example, for 10 years, 15 years, or even 5 years, maybe not too long, but
Yeah.
it is hard. It's always hard to transform yourself into something new. So
Yeah.
this framework you just gave us, it sounds nice, because your core, like best things you want to do, it is nice point to start. So thanks a lot for that. And if you will have any other recommendations for people who would like to maybe actually change their work roles to something completely different, so maybe start something new, because actually when we're talking about sysadmins, I saw sometimes that some of them already burned out, so they already have these problems with a job, and they can't psychologically continue to work in the same environment. And what do you recommend for these types of people? So, for example, this is sysadmins who would like to dramatically change their lives and do something else, but maybe also in a tech area, not like baking bread or something, but
Yeah.
something technically related.
Sure. It's a good question, and it's often very tempting question as well,
Yeah.
right? Because if you look at any job site today, they are talking about cloud and Kubernetes and this and that, right? So um, so again, I have a 3-step process for that, right?
Okay.
It's a it's a knowing the difference between knowledge, skill, and mastery. What do I mean by that? You can at best master one or two areas in your entire life, right?
Hmm.
Where you can be really, really, really good at it. You are the guru in that. It's just one or two areas, right? So that's
Hmm.
mastery. You can obviously have a number of skills, right? And you should have a knowledge of everything under the sun today.
Yeah.
But the key is knowing what to master, what to get skilled on, and what to have knowledge of.
Yeah.
Right? If you go to a conference and they say serverless is the next big thing since sliced bread, you
Hmm.
don't go after the mastery of serverless. First, you go on the
Yeah.
knowledge of serverless. Okay, what is it? How is it relevant? Does it relate to what I'm doing or not? And the very simple guideline for that is just type the new technology name serverless on Google. If you can
Hmm.
answer the first page and if you can understand what's written on the first page, that's good enough knowledge. Good enough to get by. Simple rule.
Hmm.
Right now, if that is something that relates to you, it's interesting for you, try and develop a skill around that. You
Hmm.
know, go to Udemy, one of those online courses, pick up a course or two.
Hmm.
Probably don't go to YouTube because YouTube is not the thing for core technology stuff. But there are a
Yeah.
lot of videos out there, learn that, build something from there. Try a small POC, proof of concept.
Hmm.
It's not about, doing one course or two. It's about building applications, get a cloud account on the cloud. It's free nowadays. Uh, Download the tools, try something, build something. And then you will realize if you like it, if you love it, or if you want to leave it alone. And then
Hmm.
if you start liking it, then go deeper, go deeper. But stay with these three things: knowledge, skill, and mastery. Figure
Hmm.
out which one to apply where. And I'll do a small shameless plug here. I run a YouTube channel, and one of my next topics is how to stay continually updated on new technologies. And I talk about this framework in detail there. So that's a
Mhm.
shameless little plug from me. So look
Yeah.
me up on YouTube. I put up videos like this on how to stay relevant, how to have stability of mind with the spiritual angle. I talk about those kind of things. So
Mhm.
that's how you stay relevant. Don't get bogged down by, oh, there are a million things out there that I need to learn. I don't know everything. Am I outdated? My life is ruined. It's not
Yes.
that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, what you said about like these million things you need to learn, you need to do to become like better professional, it is that I see constantly with my friends, my colleagues, because people like overwhelmed with the amount of information out there, and also these three steps, free seems like simple steps. I don't know, is it simple actually, or is it like seems simple? But these three steps you said about, it is really nice framework also, because actually when you apply something like 7 or 10 steps to something, it's always really,
You
yeah,
never reach there.
high percentage of failure in the end. So yeah, thanks a lot. And I would like to also mm, it's actually on my next question is kind of related to previous question, but I think you can add something also to that, because we see like today IT landscape almost in every company, and especially in enterprise companies, have a lot of tools, like a lot
Yes.
really. And we at Acure also talking about autonomous IT ops to increase observability and automate remediation. And we also see that some people just uh, also overwhelmed with amount of tools they need to try, use, learn, etc. And they can just go to one place and just understand how to use like only this one tool. So it's like no tool which can like be the one tool for everything. We're trying actually, but we also not like for everything, but for a big amount of task actually. But what you can recommend, how today's employees and enterprise or small companies can take advantage of these tools and also upskill themselves with this huge amount of dev tools which is like existing right now. What you would recommend?
Yeah. That's a good question, and it's often a thought which is running in a lot of people's mind. And my approach to that is, you know, if you go on a learning spree, you can keep learning tools and technologies for the next 10 years, and then by the time you learn them, another million will come out.
Yeah.
And the ones that you learned, they will be obsolete. So
Yes.
you can't like pause your life, pause your career, and say, hey, I will take a 1 year break and learn some tools and come back. It's not going to work now. That's
Yeah.
not how the world works today, right? So whatever you're doing today, whatever your job profile is, figure out what are the 2 or 3 things that are stopping you to be more productive personally, for yourself, as a team, as an organization, as a group. What are the 3 bottlenecks that you have? Once you
Mhm.
know the bottlenecks, then figure out what tools or technologies can potentially bridge those. Your
Yeah.
organization might be using them already in some other area,
Mhm.
or it might be something that is completely new. You guys have not tried it. But learn about that focused piece. Once you have enough information on that, experiment. Try out 2 or 3 use cases, see if it works, and
Yeah.
showcase the work. Right?
Mhm.
That way, you've learned something which is relevant to your organization, to your team. You have learned it enough to be able to create one small proof of concept. And then you take up to your team, to your management, and say, guys, here's the problem we have. Here's a small solution which I built in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I think this will work. Can we look at it seriously?
Yeah.
So that way you align uh, to the enterprise challenges. There are high chances you will get support from the enterprise. It helps the organization, it helps you as an individual. You stay relevant and you learn new
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Actually, I just love that everything you answer, like each answer about three things, simple and short. Three things, one, two, three, and it's actually always different things, but it is nice to hear the simple frameworks with three things about everything. So thanks a lot. I think actually we have a comments here about that. You mentioned about mentor and some agile guru. We have agile guru in the comment section said that if you can get Savinder, that's even better. So if you're available, Savinder, you can just tell us. And I think some people from the stream can also will try to hunt you as a
There are probably some people from my organization, so just check. They're cheeky
maybe.
fellows.
Yeah, maybe it's some of your colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have actually some questions, I think. Yeah, we have some questions in the comment section. We will answer a bit later, but just please add your comments, your questions to the comment section, because we would like to hear from you also. We have enough people to have conversation with, so please don't be shy and write something in the comments. And my next question will be about, I think it's actually from the audience part, because we have with registration list, we have understanding the audience. So it's mostly people who already work in DevOps or working as a sysadmins. And the main question they would like to discuss today is how to actually scale your career in DevOps. And I need to say here that if you didn't know, Savinder wrote a whole book about it. So it's book How I Built Career in DevOps. It's a short, nice book. You can download it and like read through a weekend or like one day maybe. So you can just dive deep on the book. But please, can you tell the most essential advice, or maybe two advices, for people who are already working in DevOps and would like to scale their career in this time, in this transformational shift we like seeing?
So let me pull out one or two slides that I have, and let
Yeah,
me
just a
share.
sec. Yes, here it is.
Okay, perfect. So can we go to the next one? Can I move it? Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. So what I've done is I've kind of drawn a typical DevOps engineer's profile, the career map. Now, this could be different for different organizations because this is still not very well established. So maybe your organization has a couple of steps in between, but essentially this is how a typical DevOps engineer's career will move. And this is how I've seen it evolve in the last about 10-15 years. You start with a DevOps engineer. You're basically maintaining a DevOps pipeline. You're fixing build breaks. You're doing continuous automation. You're putting the fundamentals in place. You're gaining the depth of skill because you are in one team on one technology stack and you're going deep. That's a typical DevOps engineer's profile. A couple of years later, you move to a senior DevOps engineer where you're graduating from maintaining somebody else's pipeline to creating a pipeline. You're onboarding new projects into the DevOps pipeline, and you're continuously automating on the infrastructure side, on the environment side, on the app side. Now, because you've gone from one team to multiple teams, you gain a width of skills, and then you start cementing the fundamentals that you've probably learned in the first couple of years. And then you grow onto a DevOps architect where you've worked across multiple technology stacks, hopefully across an enterprise, maybe changed a job or two along the way. So you can set up a DevOps capability. You can create a DevOps pipeline. You've started training the development teams. Here you have width and depth of technology. And it's very important at this stage to start developing people skills in parallel. Because as you move further on from a DevOps architect, you will have a lot more people interaction. You will have to learn a lot of coercion techniques, beg, borrow, steal, stick or carrot, whatever the new terminologies are. But learn about people skills also, because very quickly after this place, it's not going to be just technology. It's a lot of people related things also. And that's where there's a fork on the road, the proverbial. What does that mean? You can go a technology direction, the principal architect, who typically pushes for DevOps at a large enterprise. You are at the bleeding edge of new technology stacks, new tools. You work across cross-functional teams. You're trying to break the silo between the dev and the ops, but you're basically a DevOps architect with a very strong technology vision. The other alternative to this is more technology focused, very deep technical work. The other uh, side to that is consulting, where you go more on uh, the width path of it. You work in and probably an SI or a consulting company. You work across enterprises, drive business value. You maybe set up DevOps capability for large enterprises. You talk about organizational change management. This is an architect with the business vision. Now, you can't directly become a DevOps consultant if you've not done the pipelines and everything in between by yourself. And then you evolve into a DevOps evangelist. Evangelist is typically who has worked across multiple enterprises, who has done various shapes and forms of organizational change management, who's created new roles and responsibilities in the organization. We spoke about probably setting up an SRE function, setting up a release management function, those kind of things, and who has enterprise structure for multi-speed IT, where some parts of the organization are moving extremely fast. They are into microservices, cloud native, and the other side of the organization is still legacy, still monolith, still running in mainframes, and you know how to manage both of these. So that's the typical career path of a DevOps engineer. Um, Hopefully that makes sense. So I'll stop sharing this here.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Actually, it was really nice. I think that we will definitely invite you to give a speech, not just talk, but a speech, like presentation with slides,
Sure.
because it was really nice to hear the really structured information in a short period of time. And my next question is about also related to your book. What a DevOps, you just say a couple of things about that, but maybe you like have something to add about it. What a DevOps career might look like. So you just said about this like path, but which people can take, but maybe there is like side paths or some not so obvious roles you can also take in DevOps area. So because I can say that I know some people who have been like engineers in DevOps and switched to like agile coaches or something. So they just changed their career also dramatically. And maybe there is some roles which is not so obvious, and you can also tell more about it.
Yeah, so um, see, it really depends on what your profile is, what's your
Yeah.
background being,
Yeah.
what do you enjoy doing, right? So, classic thing is either becoming an agile coach or a DevOps coach or getting into the consulting side of things.
Yeah.
Those are options. Going into management consulting is another option. Then I've even know two people who have gone into the research side of things,
Mm-hmm.
where they are working with the IDCs and the Gartners of the world and researching on what new tools and technologies exist in a particular area.
Mm-hmm.
So the researchers, but from a technology perspective. So
Mm-hmm.
that domain is also opening up now to technology people like us.
Yeah.
So it really depends, how hands-on do you want to be, how people focused do you want to be, how locked up in a room and leave me alone do you want to be, what's your core personality,
Yeah.
and what's your core skill. There are enough opportunities out there, and I think if you the important thing is, a lot of these roles you might not even know that they exist. The
Yeah.
only way to get them is when you put yourself out there on different platforms, on LinkedIn, or create a blog post. When you put yourself out there, you basically increase the surface area of getting the right roles, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not possible to apply for these roles. These roles don't appear on a job post.
Mhm.
The ones that they have those roles, they are looking for you. You just have to be open out there, and I'm sure the right role will find you.
Yeah, it's actually really inspiring because I can say that it's happening in all areas actually, that you don't even know that some roles can exist. Actually, some companies don't know that this kind of role can exist, and they can just
Yeah.
invite some people because they see that their background and experience is matching with what they need in the company, and it is inspiring to know and remember all the time. Okay, actually, I have a couple more questions, and we have some questions in the comments. So, um, which resources can you recommend to follow to stay up to date with modern DevOps? Maybe books, YouTube shows, uh, courses, maybe also everything you would like to recommend.
So, so instead of giving you a list of 5 resources,
Yeah.
it's a very simple thing that I do. Whatever is your area,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say if you are from the infrastructure area,
Yeah.
go on Google and type top infrastructure blogs.
Yeah.
You will get a list of people who are top in that area and you start following them. Do the same thing on Twitter, do the same thing on LinkedIn, do the same thing on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You will find your people,
Yeah.
right? What is important is your area, you know how to define it, put 2 or 3 combinations, and
Mm-hmm.
do some research on these platforms. There
Yeah.
are enough people out there who are putting out very, very good quality content. You just need to find those people. And it's not about the resources, right? I have a ton of people that I follow on Twitter. The point is, what they are saying, am I reading it today, and am
Yeah.
I applying it in my life? That's more important. But that's how you
Yeah.
find people, right? Go to these platforms, search for
Mm-hmm.
them, you will find them. It's easy.
Yeah. And what do you think about creating content? Because I think that some people, some really strong professionals, can also be content creators about some topics, and it can be also like trampoline for people who like to scale in career. And what do you think personally about it also?
Absolutely. I think that is the future. And I had attended a webinar some time back, and they said that in the next 5, 10 years, the kind of job that you're doing will determine on how searchable you are on the internet.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? Now, when I say content creation, a lot of people think, coming in front of a camera like this, creating YouTube, that's content.
Yeah.
That's one form of content. If you're not comfortable in front of the camera, that's perfectly fine. Don't do that. Write blog post.
Yeah.
People like Martin Fowler, right? They became famous because of their thought and their ability to put their beautiful thoughts on pieces of paper.
Yeah.
So put that on piece of paper, create your own blog post, write articles on LinkedIn, not the clickbaity kind that we see nowadays, but really good quality content.
Yeah.
And that's also fine, right? Today you can publish a book on Amazon Kindle for $0. That's what I've done. I was passionate about a subject. I wrote a book. I went to 6, 7 publishers. All of them said, "Buzz off." I really wanted to still publish it. I went to
Mhm.
Kindle Publishing. I published it, free, zero cost.
Yeah.
So do that, but do it.
Yeah, actually, I need to say that what you say about be focused on your core values, your core like best parts of your
Yeah.
job, etc. It is focus, and I need to say that there is like the possibility of that if you're content creator, if you're seeking for some job, if you like following people, commenting, etc., it can feel like you unfocused. But when you understand, I think, that you do and why you do this, it will be also inside your focus area. So be careful. I can say from my side, because actually me personally also trying to do everything, and it's actually really painful to hear something about focus and unfocus. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm not the one with this problem.
Yeah.
Okay, we have some questions from the comments, so I would ask them right now. We have a question from Aryan. I'm having 16 plus years of experience in end user computing space, Citrix, VDI, etc. How now I feel that my knowledge is obsolete. Is it possible to start career now in cybersecurity?
So, Aaron, first of all, congratulations that you have realized that your knowledge is obsolete, which is a good first step, because
Yeah.
not a lot of people are into the Citrix VDI space now. Even if they are looking at various other alternatives. So it's a good place to acknowledge where you are right now.
Yeah.
Is it possible to start a career now in cybersecurity? Why not? But my question is it possible to start a career as a baker? Of course, yes. But is that the right area for you? What about your knowledge of VDI systems? What about your knowledge? I know it's obsolete, but have you figured out what's the next evolution of VDI? Why not stick to your core? Cybersecurity, just from these two lines, cybersecurity doesn't seem like your core area. Of course, you can go there if it's interesting to you, if you have done some projects in that, if you like that area, for sure, right? But then so is photography, and so is studying comets, right? My question is, your core area is VDI, Citrix, environments. Look at how that has changed, and have you created a free account on an AWS or an Azure? Have you checked how do you create a new virtual machine there? Have you studied those things? Do you not like them? Because that's the next logical progression of what is happening in your area in the new world. So I would say first evaluate that. If you don't like that, if you don't find it interesting, then pick what you want. But I'll go back to my core thing. You've done VDI, you've know Citrix platform, go to a cloud, start creating virtual machines, look at Chef, Puppet, Ansible, download the plugins, write a Puppet cookbook or a Chef cookbook to create a couple of infrastructure, see how beautiful it is, spend a month or two on that. And if you don't like it, then why not? Why not cybersecurity? It's fine.
Yeah, actually, I think that this is actually a common question because we have some trending areas. So, for example, cybersecurity is really trendy now. And some people think, okay, we can just move to this area and be more valuable, be less burned out also, I think, because sometimes it's also depends on what you do and how you do it and how you're working. And I think that some people also just moving to the trendy area without understanding, is it like good fit for them? And what you said, it's actually really nice because understanding your core thing is really, really important for people who would like to move to something completely new. And as we said before, you can move to something new. It's possible, and there is like several frameworks with 3 steps. Actually, you can apply it. It will be like great. And we also have like kind of similar question about fast learning to new technology. How you think people can fast learn new technology?
Yeah,
I
so
bet
again,
there is like also 3 steps, something.
the same 3 things, right? What do you mean by learn? Do you want to know just enough, have knowledge? Do you want to acquire specific pointed skills on that? Or do you already have the skills and be master in that? Because learn is a loose word, right? So depending on what you mean, the algorithm is different, right? If it's just knowledge, then read 10 articles on the internet, just Google that thing, look at 5 videos, you're done. If it's skill, pick up 3 problems that you have in your specific area that you're trying to work at, and only focus on solving that problem, because you can't learn about all problems that there are a million of them. So pick 3 problems that are happening to you in your daily life, in your job, in your pet project, and solve them. If you've already done that, if you're looking at mastery, Then pick up the organizational challenge and solve that, or take 3 steps to solving it and go back to the organization and say, hey, this is what I could do with the free stuff available out there. If this makes sense, buy me this and this, and I will give you that. So that's how I would recommend.
Yeah, actually, it's also really simple and nice. Thank you very much for these frameworks because I just love it. Actually, it's really
Thank you.
applicable, really applicable. We have our question. It's kind of similar also. Does certification play an important role in climbing up the ladder?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I often get asked that question. So my take on that is, certification can be a door opener for you. Certification can get you somewhere, but real experience will keep you there, right? Just doing certification is not enough, but in a lot of organizations, especially if you have 2 3 5 years of experience, a certification will put the right thing on your resume so that it can get selected,
Mhm.
right? So if you're in that phase of your career where you want to get in the door, certification will definitely help. But don't stop at certification. Apply that knowledge, if possible, at your workplace, if not, in your pet projects, and that's how you stay in that place.
Mhm. And what do you prefer when somebody like asks you which kind of certification or course to take instead of in addition to what you said about like follow like reading blogs, etc. What do you prefer to learn, some hard skills or maybe like more generic skills?
So it really depends on what stage of career you're at,
Yeah.
right? If you are at the beginning to mid stage of your career, just align your certification with your organization certification. It's simple.
Mhm. Yeah.
Whatever the organization is doing, certify yourself in them. You will automatically jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
If you're a very senior person with 10, 15, 20 years of experience, then you have some thinking to do. What's your career path looking like? Do you want to stay managerial? Do you want to stay technical? Do you want to pick up even a soft skill related training? What are the impediments which are holding you back to your next big leap?
Mhm.
So it might not even be technology. You'll be surprised. A lot of people are struggling with time management. You would think that's not a problem, but that's a big problem these days. A lot of people, I would even encourage some people, if you're really finding it difficult, go join a meditation course. Why not? Because if you're stable up here, then your next technical certification will become extremely easy.
Yeah.
So open up the horizon of what you're looking at, depending on where you are in your career path, and explore what is out there.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Actually, each answer like golden golden knowledge. Thanks a lot. And actually
I promise this is water.
yes. Actually we have a little joke before, like on a test call with Savinder about neighbors repairing the apartments, and it's happening now, so I
Sorry
think
about that.
it's okay. It's just funny thing to share. Okay, actually, we have your friend on the comments. It's Convi Guru from London. Says hello. So yeah, it's
Hey,
it.
Guru. Thank
Yeah,
you. I just want to take one question from Guru, if that's okay, because I think that's a very, very important question
yeah, sure.
put here. What do you do if your seniors don't agree with your idea?
Yeah.
That's a very important question. So I was writing down in my notebook because I read that question. Again, 3 things, right? Figure out the motivation for the opposing reaction. And in my thing, it could be a political motivation, which is a tough thing to handle. It could even be a religious affiliation to a concept. Sorry. So
It's
it could even be that people are very religious on a particular tool or a technology. They consider it like religion, and anything against it, anything new that you want to try, they'll just shoot it down. So figure out if that is the motive. Or then some people are just pain in the wrong place. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
So figure out what's the motivation for this opposition. And then the only way that I've been able to crack this is not through logical argumentation. It is to create a relationship of trust. You are in UK, man. Beer and chips is the solution, I'm telling you, to everything. Fish and chips in a bar with beer, that solves everything. When technology doesn't work, beer works.
And it is beautiful phrase for ending, wrapping up our meetup. Okay, I think that it's all questions we have right now in the chat, and my questions is also up. So we have a beautiful, wonderful conversation with you. Thanks a lot for that. And for people who would like rewatch to this video, we would send it to you a bit later, and you can find this video on our YouTube channel, and we also have an article transcription from this wonderful talk. And don't forget to follow up on social media, and we will send you some invites to the next events as well. And I think we definitely will have Savinder in some time also as a speaker on our events. So thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.